Alright, guys, it's Calvin. Today I'm bringing you a flawless TDM on Havana. Again, a very old game of Black Ops. Sorry, once again, you're seeing my issues with the theater mode here. As you can tell, I played a lot of lagged games. I think I'm playing with at least one friend in my party, unless it's just theater mode giving me the wrong indicator on the blue arrow there. But I think, oh, it's a nice little double kill to start, I think. I told you guys a couple of videos ago that I was going to talk about how to get better at the various things I was mentioning. And then last video I only had 5 minutes to work on it, so I cut the video short, especially talking about issues with aim. And I really wanted to come back to that because I think this is something I can actually spend 4 or 5 minutes talking about. Obviously, everything else I discussed is critically important to being good at Call of Duty, especially your movement around the map and your situational awareness. If you don't have those two things, you can be the best shot in the world. You can be the single best person who has ever used a controller to aim, and you will still do badly. Because if you don't know where people are spawning, and you don't know how to get around them, you don't know how to flank them, you don't know how to get behind them, you're going to die a lot. The best players aren't the best players because they seek out one-on-one fair gunfights. The best players are the best players because they know the maps, the spawns, and they know how to get around you. If you were to ask a pro, what's your preferred method of engagement, they'd say, I'd like to be behind or at the side of one of my enemies, because that way they can't shoot back at you. Why in the world would you want to take on 5 or 6 guys in straight gunfights when you don't need to? Your goal here is to minimize your chance of death, and you do that by not fighting people head on. Alright, so I've harped on that enough. That is the most important thing you need to do. As you see there, I'm a big fan of spraying bullets into nothingness, apparently. But let's talk about aiming, because you can be great at map knowledge and situational awareness. You can really know your shit there. You can really know how to move. And if you can't kill the guy when you finally get into a one-on-one engagement, well, then you're never going to be quite as good as you could be. So this goes back to what I was talking about, where the best players are good at truly all of the things I mentioned. Good players are good at some of them. If you were to ask me, Calvin, what are you good at? What are you not good at? Well, situational awareness, I'm really good at. Reflexes, unless I'm tired, definitely tends to be one of my stronger suits. Movement around the map, again, one of the things I tend to do better. One of my failings, definitely my aim. It's a weak part of my game. Another thing that I'm certainly not as good as some other players with is choosing the best routes to run in maps, especially in games like TDM that I don't play a ton anymore, and I'm not necessarily used to playing more cautiously. So I tend to be too aggressive with running my routes and get myself in trouble, being cut off from the rest of the team. Alright, so aim is definitely the single weakest part of my game. I think some of this has to do with coming from a PC controller, a mouse and keyboard, to an Xbox controller, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, whatever. I was playing first-person shooters, literally, with the first Doom and Wolfenstein and all that kind of stuff. And I played a ton of Counter-Strike, and I know you guys are gonna say, well, I played a ton of Counter-Strike too, guys. I played the first alpha release of Counter-Strike. I played the first beta release of Counter-Strike. I played Counter-Strike when you used to run guns across the map by picking them up and dropping them and hoarding them all in your own spawn. That's how old I am. But anyways, you get good with aiming with something, and I almost think that it gets to the point where it affects you a little bit because you're always used to aiming like that. And even though I haven't played PC shooters primarily for probably 5 years, I still struggle with the lack of precision in the controller. And that is to say that I tend to really swing the stick around a lot. If you watch me in these videos and you watch me shoot, you'll see that the thing I do the worst is that when I actually get into a one-on-one engagement with someone, I'll tend to swing the reticle around sort of wildly, spraying all around enemies. And I tend to do that. I miss a lot of enemies over their shoulders. And a lot of that comes from because, early in the days of playing games like Counter-Strike and Quake and things like that on the PC, you were moving so much and you were moving so fast. The responsiveness of the mouse was so fast that you tended to swirl the mouse a little bit in small controlled movements to either try to center your aim or to spread your shots around or whatever. But it tended to be a lot easier to do that because the mouse was so responsive you could recenter it. And with the controller, it's not. So what I do when my aim is struggling, and it's frequently struggling, is I lower the sensitivity. And let me just say that if there's any one thing you guys are struggling with in terms of your aim, the single best thing you can do for yourself is lower the sensitivity. It does not make any difference if your favorite player uses a 9 sensitivity. Scene Anders uses a 2, you can too. Good luck.